Hello, NuPIC. It's just me all by my lonesome today. A lot of the guys are out of the office, but I am still going to do sprint planning. At least it'll be recorded for everybody to watch later. So first, we're going to go over the issues that have been closed on the sprint 23, which ends today. This is NuPIC Core. So some of the things we got done on NuPIC Core, we've got better documentation, better automated API docs. I closed this issue about defining the public network on the wiki. Hold on, yeah. Scott's going to be on in a minute. So I closed this issue about the network API on the wiki because I realized it was already pretty well documented, and Utensil had no problem kicking off getting the API docs in place with what was already there. Kelly Wilson helped us out fixing up our assembly to support 64-bit and some of the C code. So thank you for that. We've got Yu Wei in the office as an intern. He has helped us update the spatial pooler documentation, which looks nice. There's some diagrams involved there, so that's good. That's again in the automated API docs at numenta.org/docs. Some more API doc improvement, and then another assembly bug fix. So that was NuPIC Core. For NuPIC, a lot of closed issues. We got the chance to, another one of our interns, Jared, worked on removing some of this old LPF code that was legacy code in the tests, so that was some cleanup. I put in place a regression test architecture, regression test suite that is currently up and running. There's one regression test there. It doesn't really do a whole lot, but the structure is in place. It runs automatically on push to NuPIC master, and then emails the hacker's mailing list if there is a failure. I also published a tutorial and screencast with example code of turning the hot gem prediction example into an anomaly model. Let's see, some README improvements. I fixed some errors. The errors when swarming fails are now better. Used to be the errors were kind of hidden within a stack trace, and now they're shoved up front. Another swarming fix, which I worked with somebody else on that, so thank you. See, we added as a part of the hot gem anomaly example, we added the anomaly likelihood code directly into NuPIC, so that is now a module within NuPIC that you can use. This is this anomaly likelihood algorithm is a bit that Subutai talked about at the last hackathon. It is now in the code base. Mark helped us speed up our unit tests by running them in parallel, which shaved off 30 seconds or so off of our unit test run. Actually, I think it was more than that. It might have been a minute. This is another swarm issue that was committed by the community that helped clean up some of the swarming directory handling. More documentation stuff. David Ragazzi has been working on this pip install feature, and as a part of that, he moved around some of the directories so that it would be more fitting of a regular Python project for the dist tools. Let's see, that's the same thing. More documentation. I had an issue with Travis where it wasn't installing things on the first try, so I had to have a retry. Rest is not a big deal. All right, so that's what we got done. So quite a bit of stuff on NuPIC there too. So currently open pull requests. NuPIC Core, there is one open pull request that Utensil has been working on to include, well, to help out with our move towards having a Windows-friendly build. So I don't think this is going to get us all the way there, but you can but it's going in the right direction anyway. So that's the only pull request we have on NuPIC. Let's see. Excuse me, on NuPIC core. So on NuPIC, we have several open pull requests still. Most of them are not in a mergeable state. All of them, I think, are not in a mergeable state. So this first one is still an old one that's probably just going to be removed as soon as pip install is put in place, so we don't need this anymore. That was Mark's. This next one is also Mark's, and I think the ball is still in your court on that one, buddy. We're waiting for you to fix some build failures, I believe. Chayton is aware of this issue, doing the updated map potential. And then David is actively working on this pip installable PR. So this cleanup issue still needs some attention. So that's again in I forgot your first name, Mr. Moore. Anyway, that's in your court. And then the anomaly modular again is, these are all things that really most of the responsibility is on the creator of the pull request to get builds passing and running, etc. So there's nothing that we can really take action on here at the moment, but they're all, at least at this point, valid PRs. So let's look at issues. I have got the issues all on one page here. So for sprint 23, that's where we're at right now. Current NuPIC core issues. Let's just plug through these real quick, and I'll have a quick discussion and then pop them in into the next sprint if we want to. Yes, definitely. I want the unit test to generate XUnit style reports. Fergal is still working on this. He just notified me today. He's made progress. But Fergal, if you're watching, I'd love to see PR, even if it's not ready. I'd be more than willing to test things out for you. Okay, so that's going into the next sprint. Fix current build issues with NuPIC. This is important. I've got a lot of comments and links in here about this, but NuPIC core head of master currently is not compatible with NuPIC head of master. So this is not a critical issue, but it's something we want to get fixed as soon as we can. So I think I assigned this to David. We chatted about this on another issue, and he was going to tackle this. And once he does get NuPIC core fixed, a PR will show up and hopefully pass against NuPIC. So this is an important thing. So this definitely needs to go into the next sprint. Austin says he will be working on this, getting Solaris, getting NuPIC building on Solaris, NuPIC core anyway. So that's valid. Chayton, I'm going to assume this is going to sprint 24. Though you haven't responded, I think Chayton's out of the office today. And this CMake options is misleading. This is really a very newbie-friendly task. If anybody, even if you don't necessarily know CMake all that well and you want to learn, this would be a good task for it. So I'm going to leave this in. Should be something very simple and easy to do. So that is for NuPIC core. So NuPIC. Let's swap sprints on me. Okay, now down to NuPIC. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 issues in the current NuPIC sprint that were not cleaned up. I'm assuming, since Austin said the other issue for NuPIC core would go into the next sprint, I'm going to pop this one in there too. This is NuPIC runs on Solaris, not just NuPIC core. This run swarm failure on Ubuntu, I have asked Sergey to update and see if he gets any better errors. This was the ticket that spurred me to create better error reporting during the swarming process. So we're going to put this one in the next sprint. Hopefully he can follow up and see what type of response he gets from running the same code now. Replace acronyms to be more descriptive. So this is a discussion that's going on internally as well as on the NuPIC theory list. Everyone's waiting on Jeff to comment about this, and he will, certain of it. So I'm just going to leave this open until we get some type of resolution, and we may have actionable items to take in the code for this, or we may not. The problem with this issue is even if we decide we have names we want to use and we want to change code in the OPF class names, like especially, that's a backwards incompatible change because of the way our model serialization works. So we might make a decision about what we want to name certain things, but we may not be able to take action until we get a release, 1.0 release. But I will be tracking this. This is just a directory cleanup thing about moving the Git hooks somewhere less conspicuous, which is fine. We will move that along. I can easily do that. Same thing with the doxy file, just to clean up the root directory, and that's also fine with me. Exposing the new anomaly likelihood code. So like I mentioned, the anomaly likelihood code that Subutai introduced at our last hackathon that we use in Grok is now within the OPF. However, it is kind of an add-on functionality to the OPF. It's not baked into a CLA model. So I think what Mark was asking about was incorporating it into the OPF so you don't have to do any post-processing of the anomaly scores. Subutai and Scott have talked about this in the office about baking it into a metric in the metric manager. So I'm going to keep this open and we'll see if that's really what Mark is looking for or not. But I think that's something that we definitely could do. This was a cleanup code in the unit tests from Mr. Moore. Oh yeah, well, there's an open PR about this, and I'm just waiting on him to do some work to clean up that PR so it passes. Or it needs to be merged. It needs a merge from master. And just to track this, in case the pip installable thing does not get merged in quickly, I opened an issue to make it easy to make Python changes without recompiling everything. This is up for grabs if anybody wants to work on this. Everybody seems to want it. Nobody seems to want to work on it. So maybe we're just all waiting for a pip install, which is fine. Okay, but I'm going to move this. And I think I missed moving one of these issues, so bear with me here a moment. This tool that I'm using here is kind of new. Yeah, clean up code and unit tests. That needs to be removed. Sprint 24. And then we have a couple tooling issues. Okay, so that's providing a status for non-mergeable PRs. This would be nice because currently if you have a PR in the list of PRs, it shows up as good to merge, even though when you go to it, the merge button is not activated because there are merge conflicts. So I think this is to provide a failing status if the PR is not mergeable, just for reporting purposes. Utensil was going to do this, so I'm more than happy to have him do it. So there's that. And then, once I move the doxy file, I will have to adjust the tooling server to look for the doxy file in another location. So that's just a technical task I need to do once that's moved, or else the docs won't build. Okay, Wallboard. Really quickly. I'll go over this very quickly. I know Jeff Full has been really busy, so he can't do it. One thing I noticed, I told you, was we have a regression test repository now called NuPIC regression, and it has its own builds in Travis. And here it is right here. So you look at the build history, it builds every time there's a push to NuPIC master. So the past 5 have been running. I would love to have some area on the Wallboard to report this regression test process. The last 10 builds or something of regression tests, green or red, something like that. It's nice to have. I might get to it, I might not, but I'm going to throw it in, and I'm not going to assign it to anyone. If you're a web developer and you're watching and you don't know how to get involved, this would be a great way to get involved. The Wallboard is all JavaScript, HTML. So create a new page to display all issues. That's what we're looking at here. It's just very ugly. So the issue here is really to kind of make it look better, because it looks ugly. So I'm going to move that over. Jeff's currently assigned, but he hasn't been able to get to it, so let's unassign it. Clear it. Anybody can jump on that. I might if I have time, but I doubt it. And then break the dev tab into its own page. If you look at the Wallboard here, you'll see there is a dev tab right here. I'd like this to be its own page instead of a tab in here, because it makes a lot of HTTP calls, and it reloads every 60 seconds or so. So there's that. And once again, I forgot to move this guy into Sprint 24, and that guy's, those two are good. Okay. Darwin 64 and Linux 64, these 3 issues have been hanging around. I've just been bumping them just from sprint to sprint. Nobody's really fussing about them at all, but they are things that do need to get done. I'm just going to leave them. I think they're all assigned to Austin currently, but nobody is crying about them. So I'm just going to keep bumping them from sprint to sprint. And that's what's going to happen. So sprint 24, sprint 24, and sprint 24. All right. We should have nothing left in sprint 23 if I did all that right. Right, so empty. Sprint 23 is empty. So a quick look at what we have on our plate for sprint 24. I'm looking for tickets that we haven't already discussed. We discussed those, and NuPIC, cleanup rock, Python changes without recompiling, replace acronyms. So there's this, and this. These are all new tickets that popped up over the past few days. This is a build failure that was reported on the mailing list. I've got a link to the original message and the log file. I asked the person who created this, Steve, to add some details about his operating system and stuff like that before I can really work on it. But there is seems like a legitimate failure there. Implementing a geospatial encoder. Chayton, I believe, is going to give some more information in the mailing list about this soon. So stay tuned. And then David created this ticket to rename all the Python files to follow the naming conventions we have on our wiki. So he took a lot of time to find all of the files that need to be renamed. So this is going to be a big task, or a lot of changes anyway for this PR. So that is on hook for the coming sprint. Other than that, in NuPIC core, we need to, I think this was the only one that we didn't talk about, was move the region implementation factory from NuPIC core into NuPIC. And this is something that is correlates to the build problems that we're having between NuPIC core and NuPIC. There's something David recently did inside of NuPIC was to call out a shell command to run a Python command, which gave me heartburn and gave him heartburn, but he's just trying to get pip install working, and he promises as soon as he gets pip install working, he'll return to this, and once this is actually moved from NuPIC core to NuPIC, that won't be something he'll have to do anymore. So this is, again, another ticket that's on David, but it really kind of depends on the pip installable ticket being closed. So that is that. So that is where we're at. I don't think there's anything else we need to talk about. A couple of things, I guess. If if you're involved in the season of NuPIC, make sure that you're making some progress. Get in contact with your mentor, or if you're a mentor, get in contact with your student or your group. One of the season of NuPIC projects, the epilepsy seizure detection, has turned into a Kaggle competition. So there's actually a team of people involved in that now. So you can get details on that on our mailing list as well. Other than that, nothing is really pressing going on. Work as usual. There's still a lot of good stuff going on, a lot of good work on our plates. So let's get it done, and we can move on, get some regression tests, get some more testing, C++ testing in place, and still moving towards a 1.0 release at some point in the future. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you on the mailing lists.